Hey guys, welcome back. Tisha here, back with another Sister Wives season 14 review. I want to know when these women realized that they actually could not build on this property, because we know that majority of this episode is a lie. This season is a lie. They lied to us and they came up with this fabricated storyline and have managed to drag it out for what is going to be an entire season. An entire season. This fool, the bald eagle, at one point of the episode actually sat there in his chair and looked in the camera lens and admitted that he does not like to see his wives enjoying each other's company. Yet we're supposed to believe that he is obsessed about this one house idea when you don't even want to see your wives getting along. What a clown. Do me a favor, hit the like button as we begin. So this episode begins with the Browns wasting our time yet again. We are at the Beautiful, where, we hear Angel singing property known as Coyote Pass. Cody has invited his friend Kyle to show up. Ugh. I was going to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Kyle, I believe his last name is Henderson. Now that I see him on the screen, I got real cringy seeing him, because there are allegations that have been made by the wife that left that there was some DV in their relationship, which is part of the reason why she left. So as I see him sitting there and he's talking, I really have some words for him, but I don't know how true it is, because I haven't seen any court documentation or he hasn't been found guilty of it. But it bothers me. I'll just say that. Anyways, he's there to see this $1 million view and to possibly move dirt on the land. If you get a chance, look him up. So supposedly he's a dirt mover, and Cody just had to have him come there, I guess, to see what it would look like if he moved dirt on their land. It sounds stupid. Cody is just looking for any person to film with, because at this point they don't have anything to tell us. So as they wait for the wives, Cody shows him the different plots. He tells him that they have 5 acres over here, and 12 acres over there if you would like to buy that property and be his neighbor. And I just want to know if Cody does not know how to read. Was Cody unaware that he wasn't going to be able to do any of the things that he suggested that they do on the property at this point? Or was he playing in our faces? Did he know or didn't he know? Y'all tell me down below what you think. So Cody lets us know that he is not alone in this polygamy thing, because Kyle is also a polygamist. I don't understand how he's still a polygamist if his first wife left him. He's asked how he feels about polygamy, and Kyle says, is there any other type of marriage? Yes, because currently you have one wife, which shows that's a different type of marriage, and that you are not living as a polygamist. And at times Cody says you were a polygamist, which implies that you no longer are. Maybe he's like Cody and he feels like he can be divorced and still end up in the kingdom and attached to his wife. But either way, you don't have enough to reach that golden number. According to Cody, he's not the first person that this has happened to. Everybody thinks about leaving plural marriage, Cody says, and you decide to stay or go based on your commitment or values to plural marriage. Not a great selling point, if you ask me, especially based on the way that things are now with Cody. Obviously, he wasn't committed to his values as being a polygamist, because if he were, then maybe he would have actually put in some work when it came to his wives. We're reminded that at one point Janelle considered leaving. It says leaving on my paper, but apparently I wanted to add some other letters in there. She said that they had to just figure it out, that if she went through actually divorcing him, then she had to think about how that would affect not just their relationship, but the others, because she would lose a lot of her other relationships. I don't quite understand this because according to the book, at some point, Janelle did leave. Why do they conveniently leave things like this out on the show? And she left, according to the book, more than once, which is why Cody probably thought now in more recent times that she would come back to him because it's what she did, which is why she tells us how hard those first 5 and 10 and 15 years were, because during those periods, Janelle wasn't always with the family. Cody is still upset about not convincing the wives to be in one house, and he feels like they never really consider it. Did he not know that he couldn't build on the land, or is this him acting? I just can't help but keep thinking about that because you keep making such a big deal out of this and using this as a reason to be upset with Christine when we now know that you weren't even prepared to be on that land in the first place. He tells them that he tells his friend Kyle that he even went as far as getting an architect to build out different homes in this one home. And he wants to know what Kyle's opinion is on it. I don't think you should be going and soliciting advice from someone who currently does not have any wives. He isn't currently living a successful plural marriage, so I don't know why you would go to him. Cody claims that when you have a wife leave you, that you gain perspective. So I'm just curious about what perspective Cody has gained, because he had not one, not two, but 3 wives leave him. So how much knowledge are we going to see Cody have in future episodes? Cody hasn't gained any perspective, in my opinion, since the wives left. To me, this question that he's asking about what you think would be better for someone like Joe Darger, who currently is living in one home with all 3 of his wives, who is currently living a successful marriage, at least according to their book and from what they currently still state on their social media. So why is it that you would ask Kyle? Kyle doesn't even tell us why his wife left. Does he know why his wife left? Because it seems like they're leaving something out here. Cody likes to talk about his polygamous friends, but a lot of his polygamous friends currently don't have certain wives. Kyle tells Cody, what he's already been told by the other wives, which is that the ladies don't like the one house idea because of the lack of privacy. Even though this has been said on multiple occasions, Cody's still going to try to push his narrative. And I guess because Kyle's a guy, maybe he's going to listen more, but it doesn't seem like it. The bald eagle then admits that plural marriage can harm intimacy. I think that Cody harms it too, purposely, because he doesn't involve himself intimately with a lot of his wives. He uses it as a weapon. He weaponizes it. Although, let's be real, Cody distanced himself and punished them as well. You can't have intimacy if you're not going over to see someone, because he's currently not seeing Mary. If Mary is not in the rotation, if Mary stopped being in the rotation from Vegas and she was still willing to move to Flagstaff just to be treated the way she's been treated and have to scratch and claw just to be able to place her arm within his, it shows that there's a lack of intimacy. When he talks about Christine, we know there's a lack of intimacy, because Christine said herself that sometimes in a year, she'd be lucky if they had intimacy 5 times in that year. And for her, intimacy doesn't necessarily mean just intercourse. Cody tells his friend that he is feeling jaded about polygamy. He then blames Christine for squashing his dream because she couldn't get past the past experiences. Christine said everything that she said about the kitchen and all that other stuff. We talked about this in the last episode. But Christine didn't want to live in a house where she would have to witness this man dating and loving and doting on this other woman and her children, seeing what it was like to see a successful, thriving marriage. Meanwhile, he's sitting there probably in that same home, not visiting or spending time with her kids, seeing her kids being treated poorly. Bottom line is, for Christine, it was easier not to have them stay in one house, because if they did, maybe her kids would pick up on his foolishness. Kind of like what they did once they got to Flagstaff and they saw how little he was visiting them and Janelle. You have less houses to go and visit. Why is it that these three women aren't seeing you? Because you cut out the fourth a long time ago. Cody thinks that Christine heavily influenced Robin by telling her about the hard parts of living together, because in my opinion, he must feel like the bird is so naive that she doesn't know anything about one house. He really treats her like she's this fragile piece of china that will break if anything happens to her. Like, you just have to guard her and shield her. When Robin didn't want the one house either, I said it in the previous episode, I gave examples. This is not something that Robin was eager for, because if she was, she would have fought for it the same way she fought for Flagstaff. Christine tells her sister wives that she suspects that Cody isn't done with this one house idea, that he's going to bring it up again. And we know that he is, because he already told us last meeting that he's not going to give it up. He's going to try another angle. The wives arrive and they see Kyle. Christine says that he's probably saying to Kyle right now, what do you think of the one house? The bird says, I mean, Kyle can comment, but his opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what works for us, not what works for him. They feel like this isn't even a subject that Cody should be talking about with Kyle. As usual, Robin is changing the narrative. She's now telling us, based on this whole thing about the one house, that she feels disappointed that they decided not to do the one house. And she's just not sure about the decision that they made not to do it. Mary then does what I'm glad that she did, and she flips it back on her. Mary's like, okay, let's put it this way, Robin. Can I move in with you? Robin looks nervous. She's like, if you need to. Mary says, but do you want me to? Robin's face says it all. No, she doesn't. Because she's trying to look like she's confused, but you very much so understand the point that Mary's trying to make here. And she couldn't even lie and act like she would want to. She to me, looks like she rather toss herself into that freezing pond that they have on Coyote Pass than actually live with Mary. And she doesn't answer the question. Instead, she says, wow, Mary, what do you mean? What do you not understand about that question, Bird? It's very clear. Very, very clear. She then says, would you want me to live with you, Mary? And Mary says, I already know how it feels to live with everybody. Robin says, I do think it would be very interesting. I think it would be a fun, interesting time. Everybody's like, interesting? That's not necessarily a good word. And she says, it's a good word to me. No, you tried to fix it, because first you were just saying very interesting. And then when they called you out on the word interesting, you tried to add fun behind it to make it sound like you didn't just say it would be interesting. We know what you meant. Your answer is no, because you struggle so much, and that was a simple answer. You didn't have to go through all the around the mulberry bush and not even get to it. The sister wives are shown the various areas that the properties will go. He should have had the diagram there for them to see it. You're telling me that this tree over there is this, and this tree over there is that, and that stump over there is that, when there are dozens of trees and dozens of stumps. So that's not going to make no sense. He says, I have an idea of where all the wives will go based on things that they've said to me about the property. Not based on where they say they want to go, but just based on what they said about the property. He says, but it's not necessarily set in stone. But he is going to make a big deal about this later. He says, Mary, you want to be in the trees, right? Mary says, I don't know. I hate that Mary says, I don't know, because the fact that you're thinking about it and you're perplexed makes me feel like you do know. You want some of them trees to be knocked down if you're going to be over there. But she likes to overcomplicate things and just not come straight out and say it. She says, where I'm at now has a lot of trees, and what I'm realizing is that the house is very dark. He tells her, you better hurry up and decide, because I gotta, do a lot planning. I don't understand what you need a lot planning for when you haven't even finished selling all your homes as of yet. And it doesn't seem like y'all are putting down a lot of money on Coyote Pass. They were probably doing the bare minimum. There's a whole gas line that separates the other houses from where Mary would be if he put her there. And it just shows what he thinks of Mary. He's using the trees as an excuse, and he's trying to convince her that living in the trees is what she wanted. But just because she said that she liked the trees at Cottonwood or she likes the trees at her home doesn't mean that she likes the trees on Coyote Pass. If I remember correctly, she didn't have anything positive to say about Coyote Pass. Mary was Cottonwood all the way. Cody seems shocked that Mary doesn't want to be in those trees. He's molting at this point. They keep on thinking that they're going to have what they had at the cul-de-sac, Cody points out, but they're kind of not, because this is a rural area and the houses are going to be a lot further from one another. I want to know if they paid any attention to the acres, because the acres alone should have let you know that y'all weren't going to be on top of each other. Cody then decides to take Kyle near the pond to show him more land, because he's really trying to convince people to buy this land. But Kyle doesn't want that land. Robin tells us that the bald eagle has tried to get rid of these other properties that were nearby to a few people. Shockingly, no one is biting, because nobody has a desire to move all the way to Flagstaff. Y'all are the only dummies who did it, and nobody wants to live next to Cody and all his antics. Could you imagine how annoying Cody would be as a neighbor and friend, especially because we always get told about how he doesn't get to hang out with his friends a lot because he has to worry about his wives, and he doesn't get to do things that people without so many wives would be able to do. Cody would be an annoying friend to live near. He'd probably be trying to pop up and come and see you all the time. No. Cody explains how hard this whole thing is for him because his wives crushed his dream. It couldn't get past everybody's bias or their concerns. He says most of the time, husbands have one perspective and the wives have another. That the husbands want one home and they want all their kids to be under one roof. Meanwhile, the wives want something different because it's harder for them to deal with other personalities. Cody, it's hard for you to deal with other personalities as well. You just don't deal with them. You cut them off or you act like they don't exist. Cody has never taken the time to see how his wives feel. I remember when Mary tried to tell him to think about how it would feel to be in her place back when they lived in Vegas. And she said, how would you feel if I had, a whole bunch of husbands? And he acted like it was so disgusting for Mary to even mention that. Meanwhile, these women on a daily basis are faced with the fact that you have not only multiple wives, but you have functioning relationships in some areas and in others you don't. The wives are supposed to be leaving because they're cold, and Cody's just showing Kyle around, and you see them tossing snow at each other. Robin tells us when they get together, they act like siblings. They act like obnoxious sisters, and that Cody is the little brother that they want to tease. I know that my metaphors are off sometimes, but that sounds crazy. It's very troubling to me that you compared your relationship and called your husband, saying like you treat him like he's a little brother. Why couldn't you say you treat him like he's a friend on the playground or something, like a boy that you had a crush on? Than that. I was like, really? This is what we're going with? We're going with brother? Cody says, if it wasn't for just pure masculine confidence, I would just wither. You're already withering, or your hair is at least. I want to know what confidence he's talking about, because Cody shows us on a continual basis how much he lacks confidence. It's all an act. Robin says we need to make some memories on this land. So she decides to double dog dare the wives to make angels in the snow. The wives plop down to make the angels. Production is looking, and they're probably smiling, because I smile when I saw them plop down on the thing and throw snow at each other. It's nice when they do act like they like each other, even though for some of them it's just an act. I think a lot of them just tolerate one another. Production thinks that this would make Cody happy. However, he is bothered. Cody says that he's grown cynical. When he was younger, it would bring him pleasure to see his wives goofing off and having fun. And now he's jaded. He's struggling with plural marriage. He's struggling with his wives. He's struggling with the conflict. They're at a stage now where they're far apart. They're struggling to get along. That is his fault. And it's interesting that he didn't say that I'm struggling, period. I'm struggling with my wives, meaning more than one, meaning it wasn't just Mary, meaning it was also Christine. He tries to say that when they get together, if the sister wives don't like the idea, then they decide that they're not going to side with him. They're not going to side with him, even if they want to side with him. They're going to side with the sister wives. And that's not true, because Janelle sided with him when it came to this one home thing. Cody enjoys causing havoc and putting stuff out there that isn't true. I watch him and I listen to him, and it's like he wants these wives to have problems with one another. He wants them to be jealous of each other. And right now, they're not jealous. They're getting along. When they are united, he has a problem with it. He doesn't like that they have such loud opinions. He doesn't like that they're disagreeing with his choices. He doesn't like that they're enjoying time with each other more than they're enjoying time with him. At this point, we're seeing that tolerable Cody is gone. He is a bitter man that is imploding. He's busting at the seams at the thought of his wives getting along, while he himself is having his own struggles, because everybody is supposed to make sure that Cody Brown is okay. Unless they agree to his dream house, then I feel like he's going to continue to make life difficult, which we saw that's what he did. Cody reveals to us that he's taking it personal. He is still resenting them over his house being crushed. He says that he is struggling with plural marriage. I feel like my idea never got a chance, he said. It was a snowball in hell. I think plural marriage fits well with the personality of one of my wives. I want to know which wife you guys think that he's talking about, because at first I thought he was talking about Janelle. But then what he said later on with Janelle and the whole Maddie situation and her having a secret and not telling him, I'll get to it. Along with the fact that I know that Janelle has left a time or two, makes me wonder what the true situation is as far as what wife he's talking about. So I think that the wife that he was saying that it fits well with her personality is the bird. But tell me what you think. But it doesn't make sense to me that it would be the bird also, because the bird hasn't really lived plural marriage. She's lived it in name, not in action. Cody says, I'm not going to tell you which wives do better and which wives don't do well with plural marriage, because I don't want the world to judge them. We aren't judging them, Cody. We're judging you. Especially because you're the one who put it out there. You're the one who made the statement. Janelle is like, how many days are we good with plural marriage? And he's struggling. He's making it seem like it's just us. Cody admits that their journey to get to the place where they are today did some things. Okay. It pretty much broke for a woman's heart. The place that they are, to me, is unhappy, and they've been unhappy even before they moved there. Still, the women insist, after all that they've been through with this man, after how he's betrayed them, after how he brought the burden to the family as well as her debts, after the way that he's ostracized some of the children, after how he handled this whole move to Flagstaff, they still insist on telling us that plural marriage is worth it. So they're still lying. Cody reminds us that the Vegas homes need to sell. He's realizing how long it's going to take to develop what they had in Vegas. I don't understand why you thought that you were going to get what you had in Vegas. What you had in Vegas had an infrastructure. What you have here is nothing. Nothing but land and a pond that fills up sometimes. You don't have anything. You're literally starting from the bottom, Because in Vegas, you weren't on the bottom, you were in the middle ground. Now you're starting at the bottom. You relocated to a place that's substantially higher. I need to look it up and see if I can find out how much their Vegas homes were for, because it's not making sense, these decisions that they made, where they're moving into these $500,000 homes and these $800,000 homes and buying this expensive property when they really didn't make much off of their homes that they sold. But maybe I'll do that another day. He said the pressure that is happening, the pressure to create what we had in Vegas, that's all on me. Well, you're the one who sold to people like Christine that you're going to move the cul-de-sac and put it in Vegas. That's what you, out of Vegas, I mean, and put it in Flagstaff. That's what you told her before she agreed to moving there, because she told you she didn't want to move unless y'all were going to have that. She said it. And yet he tries to act like he's surprised that she doesn't want the one home. Why didn't he just stay in Vegas? He's such a dodo bird. Janelle has flown to North Carolina to see Maddie and Caleb, as well as Axel. Caleb explains that they moved to North Carolina because he got a job as an elevator mechanical assistant. Janelle enjoys Axel. I keep feeling like spiders are crawling on me. That was just a piece of hair. It just freaked me out. A spider was on me earlier, y'all. Like, it was just chilling, crawling down my leg. And ever since then, I keep feeling spiders, so don't mind me. Janelle enjoys Axel so much that she wants the other kids to hurry up and have some grandkids. Based on their beliefs, I'm going to say that's a joke. Christine says that Aspen and McKelty aren't ready to have kids yet, but she really wants them to. Robin tells us that she jokes around all the time, and she'll say to Aspen that she looks like she's growing. That's not a funny joke, especially because Christine's girls at various points have had weight struggles, number one. Number two, don't joke around about pregnancy, especially when their mother had miscarriage before. Like, you just don't, you never know. And I feel like it's a little insensitive. If they tell you that they're not in a rush to have kids, don't keep making references to their stomachs and things like that. But the bird is a dummy and she doesn't think. We find out, well, we already know, Maddie is pregnant with their second child, so she and Caleb head for an ultrasound. They find out that she's having a girl, but they want to keep it a secret because they want to do like a gender reveal for the family. They're thinking about naming her Evangeline because they're combining like his grandmother, his mom, and Janelle's name. I think that's a really cute way of carrying their tradition on. I know for us, what we normally do is we give like the name of someone in the family. Like, I have my grandmother's middle name. My son has my father's middle name. My mom has her grandmother's middle name as her name. Like, okay, that sounds crazy. Their first name is our middle name, or their middle name is our middle name. Now, my father, I didn't give my child the whole middle name because my father has two middle names, but I gave him one. Okay, I'm telling too much information. Let me get back to this. Okay. After the appointments, Janelle and Axel meet Maddie and Caleb for lunch, and Janelle starts pushing hard to find out what the gender of the baby is. She wants to know before the rest of the family, which later does not go over well with Cody. They feel like the biological mom should know first, and the other mothers say the same thing on the couch. Janelle can't wait a whole week to find out. Maddie is reluctant, but after playing around for a while, she lets her know it's a girl. Janelle is excited and surprised, and she looks like she's about to cry. She lights up when she talks about her kids and her grandkids. I've been hard on Janelle in the past for having Christine, raise her children, and I haven't given Janelle as much credit as maybe I should sometimes. But it's very evident, especially in later years, that Janelle was present for her kids. Maybe she wasn't in the beginning because she was working more, but by the time that they got on this show and she wasn't working as much and they had another form of income coming in, Janelle was a very present parent. And she goes above and beyond for her kids and for her grandchildren, because I remember during the pandemic how she went to help Maddie when Ivy's well, I don't remember. I don't think her name is Ivy. I don't remember what they named her. But when her daughter had to get the amputation, she was there to assist with that. So she's there. She's hands-on. Janelle talks about how much Cody adores his grandchildren and how much he's going to love this little girl. And my eyes were rolling and rolling and rolling while she was talking, because he isn't even around those kids anymore. Maddie has come out and said that her kids don't know who he is. Meanwhile, they know who Christine is, and they know who their other aunts and uncles are, but they don't know who their own grandfather is, because he doesn't come to see them. He obviously doesn't reach out and communicate with them. But we're supposed to believe he's this great guy when it comes to the kids. Maddie reveals that she plans to have another bathtub birth, but this time, instead of doing it at a home, she's going to do it at a birthing center. And right next to the birthing center, there is a hospital in case there are any complications. Janelle's concerned about her being so far away and possibly going into labor, because she doesn't live in the same state, and Caleb's job sometimes takes him far out. She's scared that Maddie will go into labor while he's away from home, and she'll be all alone in North Carolina with the baby. So she, wants to try to figure something out as far as that's concerned. We come back to Arizona. Cody and the wives gather at Janelle's second rental home for a meeting. Because they're so far apart, they have to schedule meetings, and Cody is concerned about how they are losing their family culture. As I hear them talk about how far they are this and how far they are that, I feel like y'all aren't that busy that you can't meet up on a Friday or a Saturday night. I get that some of the kids have extracurriculars and maybe meets and stuff like that, but all of the kids aren't as active as others. Like, I doubt that Robin's kids are doing a wrestling match, because she would have told us that they were doing something like that. The furthest anyone lives at this point is 10 or 15 minutes. I don't know how far Mary lives from the others, but that just goes to show you that you all can meet up if you want to. Let's say it's 30 minutes. 30 minutes isn't that big of a deal. My man lives 16 minutes away from me. And if I wanted to, I could go see him every day, but I would need a break. My point is, you make time if you want to make time. Like, there's times where I can go over there everywhere. I can go over there every day if I want to. Anyway, there's times where I go over there every day. And then there's times where I may only go over there twice in a week, because I just don't feel like being bothered. This is life. It's okay. You make time for those that you care about. So if they care about each other, then they should make time. It's been a couple of weeks since Janelle has moved into her rental. I'm feeling like it's been more than a couple of weeks, because she says it's been a few weeks. That's what she said. But boxes are everywhere, and it would drive me nuts. She said she moved to the second place a couple of weeks ago, but then she was at Maddie's for 10 days, which means it's been at least a month in my mind that she's been there. She has a lot still to do. Cody says, "You haven't told me about the trip. Was it just a bunch of you watching Axel?" Please tell me that they're doing this just for the purposes of the show, because if you're just now having this conversation and she was gone and she's been back for a while, you should have already talked to her about this. But Cody doesn't come around, so it could be that he just hadn't got around. Cody shares that he and Robin have some bad news, so he's hoping some of the other family members will deliver some good news during their meetings. Christine says she doesn't have anything to tell them. Janelle says she already knows the gender of Maddie's baby, and the rest of them will find out in about a week, including Cody. He immediately looks bothered. He is not happy about not being in the loop. Cody says, "So you know the gender?" Mary says, "Why wouldn't she?" Cody says, when a husband and wife are close, they don't keep secrets from each other. So now he's implying that something's going on with him and Janelle, all because she didn't tell him about this baby. He says, when a wife tells me something, I have to work very hard if it's supposed to be a surprise, not to tell the other wife. So sometimes they don't tell me anything. I don't even think she was thinking about all of that. I think she was trying to keep it a secret because Maddie didn't want everybody to know. She wanted to make it a surprise. And sometimes it's not about you, Cody. He's just so butthurt that Janelle knew before him. So they're like, okay, well, how about you try and guess what it is? Mary tells Janelle to go out the room because her face will give it away. She tells Mary, you know me so well. Everybody takes their guesses. All of them say it's a girl with the exception of Robin. She says she's going to say a boy just because everybody said a girl. Janelle walks back in and Cody says, I think that it's a girl because you're so excited about it. But unlike Cody, Janelle is just excited that she's going to be a grandparent again. She doesn't care about the gender. Because I haven't forgot that Cody says he gets along better with the boys than the girls. Janelle announces that her home is under contract and that should all the inspections and everything go well, it should be sold in a month. The money, we're told, will stay in the bank after it's sold and not be touched. The bird says that it's family money in my head, so I just got to let everybody know that. I think sometimes she gets the lines mixed up. I think she thinks that all money is family money because she seems to benefit from the family money the most. Cody then announces to the group that he and Robin have some bad news. The owners of Robin's rental want to sell her home, which means that Robin has to move. Everyone is devastated because Robin's house is where the family has gathered since they've moved to Flagstaff. I don't understand why this should be a devastation thing. Go to Mary's. Robin says, I need prayers and I need a space for all the kids. As I've said before, have them share a room. It's ridiculous that everybody else has to suffer. Meanwhile, Robin gets to get the best of everything and she gets everything that she wants. Mary says, I need you to know that you guys are welcome to gather at my house. I got a lot of space that goes unused. When she said this was probably the only time in the show that I felt bad for Mary, because I feel like the only time that they've probably gathered there since being there is when they had to move her, and she complained about that, and for Christmas Eve, because it's crickets when she makes the suggestion. They don't want to do it. Mary's asked by production to comment on her offering up her home, and she doesn't want to because they basically brushed over the thought of the idea. It's so clear that Mary is not a part of the family in this episode, and I feel sorry for her because they used her. They had her uproot herself to come there. It's mainly Cody. I'm gonna put this on Cody. I ain't gonna put it on the wives because they don't know the ins and outs, even though it's clear to all of us that Cody doesn't like his ex-wife. But Cody used her by having her come here so he could utilize her money, because the moment that they got to Flagstaff and he got what he wanted from her and she actually moved there, it seems like he switched it up on her. Robin says, I need you all to keep this here. Don't tell your kids and don't tell my kids because I haven't told them yet. I need to explain it to them. I'm just, I'm nervous about their reaction. It's amazing to me that that bird went through a divorce, moved states to be with Cody. She has herself and her kids enter this polygamous situation to get on TV, and she still handles change the way that she does. She makes the biggest deals out of everything, and her kids get anxious because of the way that she acts. And even the way Cody acts. They're very antsy at times and very overwhelming and very overbearing. And that can have negative effects on those kids because this stuff didn't just come out of nowhere. Aurora, it's like we watched her morph over time and she got more and more in her shell as she got older. And I think it's because of how she was sheltered. As I hear her talking about this and Cody talking about his bad news and making such a big deal out of it and everything, I can't help but think about how Janelle's children just went through a move as well. to the point where they had to uproot themselves and they're staying in another house. And Janelle didn't make a big deal out of it. She just did it. Meanwhile, Robin's making a big deal out of it. And I understand that part of that reason is because Robin wants it to have so many bedrooms and so many bathrooms, etc., etc. But if this was really just supposed to be temporary, why did you have to have the exact amount of bedrooms that you wanted? Why couldn't you sacrifice by having them share a room? The bird says, I thought we were gonna, separate for like a year and then we would build. And it just seems like we're not going to do that. By the 4th month, they should have realized that it wasn't going to happen. Cody tells the wives if they ever feel discouraged, to go ahead and just drive out to Coyote Pass to help remember, what they love about the place and to help cheer them up. That's not a place that would cheer me up. If anything, I think it would make me sad because I'd be looking at this property like we wasted all this money on this property and we're not even going to build on it. He also says that, if the county would allow it, he put a double wide trailer up there and make everybody live in it until they can all agree on what to do with the property permanently. Robin says if Cody wants to live in a double wide trailer, he's welcome to, but he'll be living alone. She's not about to live in a trailer, even though she used to live in one. She acts like she's so entitled and she just can't bear the thought of living in a trailer again. She says, I lived in a trailer. Do you know how cold it gets? And they're like, yeah, we lived in a trailer too. And she's like, I didn't know that you guys lived in a trailer. She obviously doesn't listen because we've heard over the years the same story that they told us this episode, that the 3 of them, when they first got married, lived in a single trailer with 3 bedrooms and how thin the walls were and all that other stuff. So why are you acting like you didn't know? She's such a liar. Robin says trying to do all this stuff that Cody's talking about is a distraction from the goal. Mary offers to buy Cody a RV so that he could live on Coyote Pass. Cody is mad that the wives aren't considering his idea, and he talks about how they're not considering it because they don't have open minds. He barely likes the size of the wives' homes. He complains about how how Janelle's house is so small and how Christine's house is small, yet we're supposed to believe that he'd be willing to live in a trailer or in an RV. He didn't even want to live in Janelle's RV. Do we really think he would do that? Cody says, at this point, with the way everything's going, I'm just so discouraged and I don't know what to do. And I feel like the only thing that would have worked was y'all going back to Vegas. But at that point, you sold 2 homes or 1 home. So could you really do that? I feel like Cody alienated his wives so much, and then he gets surprised that they struggle when they're around each other, when you've created this dynamic where you kind of encourage their separation. He has a problem with the fact that he's not being allowed to run his household the way that he wants to, and that they're not submitting to him anymore. Who's surprised here? Not me. You all, tell me what you think about this episode. I may have left some parts out. As I've said, at this point, a lot of these are kind of redundant because even in this episode, they did a lot of flashbacks of things from the previous episode, like we just didn't see it. So if I missed something that you want to talk about, please put it down in the comment section. Go ahead and like the video. We are on the road to 1,500. I'm like 100 and think 30 away from it. I'm hoping to get to that goal sooner than later. Thank you so much for your time. Until next time.